Hello everyone. Anchal is going to be joining us for a live today, so I'm just going to send her an invite quickly.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, I'm able to see you clearly, so
I hope this works.
yes, third time's the charm.
Yeah. Yes.
Um, okay, so back to what our first question was. What is peer pressure?
So, peer pressure with basic terminology, basic norms, it's how your peers or people you usually hang out with, people who are mostly around you, people you talk to on a regular basis, influence your activities, your thoughts, how you perceive a lot of things. So, it's like that is the basic thing about peer pressure. But if we just do not think it about like as an influence, there's like quite more to it. There's like explicit peer pressure and implicit things. Like for explicit peer pressure, people usually tend to do things because they've been made fun of or they've been probably negatively influenced by it. Whereas like an implicit peer pressure, what people usually do is because they are scared that they'll be judged or because they have the need to fit in into a group, they tend to do certain things. So peer pressure is basically how your peers guide your activities, guide your thoughts, and those like usually peer pressure turns up because you have that innate need to fit into a group, to be called as a part of it, to belong, and sometimes it also becomes pretty heightened because there's like a great need of approval that people have, so that is when peer pressure comes in. And not all peer pressure is bad. Usually, when we in Indian context talk about peer pressure, it's always about how negatively our elders or our parents usually guide us towards it. They're like, yeah, this person is doing something of this sort because they're negatively influenced by it. But there are like good peer pressure situations as well where people get inspired by other people, their friends work very good in athletics, in their academics, and that's a really like a true thing that happens. So not all peer pressure is bad. So yeah, that's basically how peer pressure works.
So in the theme with our topic today, how peer pressure and sex related?
Okay. So when we talk about peer pressure and sex, as we saw, peer pressure is how others influence us. So when adolescents, adults usually have conversations with their peers, each other, they tend to hear a lot of things about sex because, okay, that is a very general need in the human race, like in all races probably, but yeah, just talking about the human race. So because it's such an innate need, people will talk about it. And when the conversations happen, there are things that people tend to do because they are influenced by their peers. They do not have like an exact idea of how things are, what things happen, but they tend to go ahead with it because their peers do it. And the first thing that we see usually is such things happening like during the age of adolescence. Adolescence is mostly guided by heightened risk taking, and peers tend to influence a person's decision quite a lot. So an individual gets pretty much like they take decisions according to how their peers have been taking. And sometimes they are not very mindful about what they are doing, not very thoughtful of what the results or the effects of certain decisions could really be. And this is actually a like during this phase, usually adolescents try to explore a lot of things around them when their like the sexual life also comes into the scene. So when they are trying to explore that quite a bit, because they do not have really too many people to talk to, especially in India. So they are mostly guided by whatever content is available to them or probably their peers. So that is how peers tend to influence each other or like inside.
So I mean, like what you said, right? A lot of what happens in your adolescence is shaped and influenced by your peers, and I mean a good chunk of it is also because you're spending so much time in school, or you're staying back for some sort of practice or the other, or you're traveling back home with people. So a good chunk of your influence from when you start school comes from your friends and whoever you're around. So it makes sense that, one kid sees this one thing and they don't completely understand it, but they like talk about it. And
Yeah.
I think that's how a lot of us actually learn about sex, right? Because you'll have someone tell you this about this thing that people do, and then because it's this new thing, like you want to know.
Exactly.
But of course, it's not always going to be a good thing.
So this is
So
when people actually tend to explore quite a lot. One person explores something, and that is how they're having a general conversation with someone of their group, and that is how the thing just keeps moving forward. There's like a lot of susceptibility also. Someone would take it in a different way, someone takes it completely in the opposite direction, but yeah.
So, so then a very important part of this then is about the information we have, right? So then do you think that actually having sex education lessons in class, in school, at a college level, would actually help people be better prepared for sex?
Definitely. Definitely. Um, like talking in the Indian context, yet again, we do not have anything called sex education. We really lack that thing happening in schools. And I think it's not something which is like out of leisure or luxury. It's a necessity.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a very important course curriculum in schools that is not really happening. And I think that really would play a very, very important role in how people grow up to see things, to guide things around them. Because it's very important to know what are the effects of it, how does it happen, what
Yeah.
goes around it. So when there is no sex education and when people try to like directly explore it, there are so many things that could really go wrong. People are not informed about like pregnancies. They do not know about contraceptives, condoms. They do not know about STDs, and that is really really scary. They have like a lot of harmful effects. And then during the age when they are trying to explore, there are like a lot of things that are really really influenced by pornography, and
Yeah.
it is something to be addressed. People tend to go about seeing that and figuring things out accordingly when that is not really the reality. That is something completely different from how things happen in real. And people do not know about it. And those things that they watch usually on the internet is something that mostly guides their expectations. Right. So that causes like a lot of troubles in the future. They have like a lot of assumptions about things that really do not work their way. Also, definitely, if you have no idea about what things are, how sex happens, what are the notions around sex, you have heightened curiosity. You really want to explore more. You want to see how everything goes about. And when that happens, because you really do not have an idea prior, you tend to involve in malpractices, tend to involve in things that might not be really right because you're not informed about it. And once people actually have some idea through education, I think there is like a lower risk in exploration also. They really know where they are going, what they are really trying to do. Like, if not exactly, but at least some idea is definitely there. So that is really, really important. Apart from that, like sex education is not only about the process, it's about a lot of things. It's about consent, it's about relationships, it's about exploring your own orientation to understand how uh, like the act of sexual pleasure makes you feel, makes the other person feel. And I think it's very important for people to know about it.
Yeah. And also, it's very interesting to see how people perceive just the word sex education itself, right? The moment you say sex education, everyone's just assuming that we are telling people how to have sex. Like, exactly, like it's one major, it's just going to be a class where people are just going to be showing you pornos left, right, and center. And like, but that isn't it, right? And it's very interesting to see how it parallels to just the Kama Sutra itself as a book, because although it seems like it's a book on just like these different sex positions, it also tells you a lot about how to live like a healthy life. It tells you about things. It tells you things about sensuality, like smells and sounds and things like that. And it's really interesting because that part of the book is never spoken about. It's only
True.
about this one set of pages that tell you about these really bendy poses that you can do, and it's like one stereotype.
Yeah. That's really, really true.
Yeah, and also, like, when we study about it in biology in school also, a lot of it focuses on the plants and how reproduction happens in plants, but when it comes to humans, that chapter just goes by so fast.
And I think the chapter goes by fast only in class 10th, like when you really have to write an exam about it. Prior to that, you really do not go through it also.
Yeah, at
You just
that
keep
point,
it.
yeah, it's at that point, it's just like, this is the diagram, you need to learn this will come for so many marks, and
Exactly.
this is the process, you need to know it, and that's all. But there's a section on contraception that gets cut out. I don't even know if it's in the textbooks anymore, but it was there in mine, and it got cut right out. And yeah, so it's interesting because at that point, when you don't learn about simple things in sex ed, like how the anatomy works, like how the female anatomy is, how the male anatomy is, you're not going to actually understand how to have sex in the first place. Which
Exactly.
is interesting because some clients who show up for therapy, right? They it takes some time before the therapist realizes that the reason there's problems with like fertility or just anything else related to sex is because they don't actually know how to, engage in the process itself. So yeah, just like basic biology and things like consent are very, very important to know.
Yeah,
Um,
true.
and in line with consent, do you think that what do you think causes people to sort of pressure each other into having sex?
So I think it's very important to take the media into account, right? When there is content available, when they are trying to show a lot of things that happen in different societies, um, people tend to perceive it's pretty okay because everyone is doing it. A show has come up on Netflix showing teens engaging in like proper wild sex, doing things that they would never even imagine of doing at their age, but because they're seeing that's happening, they assume that it's pretty okay. And that is how they get influenced into doing it because everyone is doing it. And it's like because they see such things, they again are very curious to see. They want to engage in it. They want to see if it really works out that way. They want to know if it really feels that good. When again, because it's media, it's not true,
Yeah.
right? Not everything shown is true, but that is not what they know about because they have no idea about it in prior. It's just like a blank space for them that they're trying to fill it, right? And it's also the pressure mostly I think also tends to come in because they have this innate need to fit in. If a person tends to belong to a peer group where they are usually engaging in sex, like most of the members are, I think it becomes very important to them to feel like they belong.
Hmm.
That because others are doing it, it's not like they are unwanted. Because there's like a lot of things that revolve around sex, which is not only the act. It also comes with the concept of being wanted, the concept of being beautiful and being popular. Like it actually tends to sometimes like tag along with things like pride and ego because they are engaging in it, right? It's something to boast about.
True. That's very, very true. And
Right?
when you,
So yeah.
no,
Okay. So when people tend to think of it that way,
no.
it's just because they want to be popular and have like an impact on their peer group, and it's not because of their need to do the act, like to involve in it, to probably explore it with, I think, the right intentions. It's just because they think they should be doing it. That's why they are doing it. So I think that happens. Also, I think a lot of times the pressure comes in because between partners also, there's like a lot of curiosity where one person might be very, very curious about it and really wants to involve in it when the other is not. And sometimes because people do not understand consent or the emotions of their partner, they tend to pressurize them, to push them towards doing it, to engaging in it when it might not be right. So that also happens. And if we think about it biologically, it could also be because of heightened sexual drive. Because obviously during adolescence to adulthood, when the puberty phase is going on, when people are growing and there's like a lot of hormonal imbalance in the body and things tend to go certain ways. So probably one partner might be having like a lot of heightened sexual drive. They would want to be engaging in it. They really have the need to be a part, like need to engage in it, do it. When the other person or other people around him might not, him or her, might not be so much inclined towards it. But because the need of that one person is there, so the pressure hence. Yeah.
I think, I mean, like you said, consent and just understanding your own needs are very, very important when it comes to peer pressure and when it comes to sex as well. And until you actually explore what it is that you want and figure out what it is that your partner wants, you're not going to come to that position where, you know, both of you are okay with whatever is happening. And that's something that's very important that a lot of people like need to start to understand as well. So do you think that more awareness about sex can lead people to pressure each other at least like a little lesser?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, I think that's a very subjective thing because I think it again belongs, like, it again depends on how a person really is. It depends on person to person. Probably in general, if we talk about it or think about it, it might, considering the person already is slightly informed about it, knows how relationships work, knows how there are different emotions, respecting the other person's emotions. And because of those reasons, they might actually understand and realize that like it's just not a very random act. It really is a very intimate, very emotional act that probably people engage in. And it's not always very, like, it just is not very easy to get away with it. It's something which has to be a very informed decision when a person is starting to do it, starting to engage in sex. So obviously, when there is more awareness about sex, there are all the things that come into the picture. Because when we talk about it, the person will be informed about relationships. Because even it's not only during the times when people are starting to explore, it's also post the marriage phase, right? People tend to engage in certain things. People tend to pressurize their partner for a lot of things that they might be wanting, but the other person is not really comfortable with. But because they do not understand how the other person probably wants the act to go about or feel about it, so they tend to pressurize the other like the other person or their partner, and that tends to bring in a lot of emotional turmoil as well during, like, in their relationship. So that is something very important. Also, with all this will come consent. People will understand that it is very important to respect how the other person feels about something. That it is important to see if what one person wants is at least somewhere matching to the things that the other person wants.
Yeah.
Right. And I think with a lot of sex awareness, a lot of reality will sink in. People would realize how things shown in the media, things that go around in pornography, is not how things happen in real life. That it's not actually like an act that goes about that way. And I think it is very important for people to really know how real the act of sex is. because it's just like a very pictured, dramatic image that everyone has in their head when that is not exactly how things go. Along with that, with a lot of sex awareness will come a lot of healthier practices. People would know about contraception. People would know about condoms. People would know about healthy sex practices. They would know that taking a risk and not using contraceptives may actually lead to pregnancy if engaging before marriage or engaging during the teenage years. Obviously, if something of that sort happens, it is a very difficult situation, right? And considering again the Indian society, these things are really, really looked upon. If we think about like going a little more psychologically, if we just think about the Maslow's hierarchy, it comes in the physiological need. It's in the basic need for a person. Sex. It's like food.
That's right. There
But
food, water, and then just go sex.
and sex. But the three things that used to be there that a person really wants to survive with. But thinking about how people see the act is, they have actually tabooed it. It's like they find shame in it if people do it before marriage, but find a lot of pride in it when it's done post marriage, which is weird. But yes, it happens. So that's there. Also, I think with a lot of awareness will come a lot of self-exploration. People would get to know what they really need, what they really want, what are the things that are available around them, what are the different things that could actually help them in gaining pleasure. They would know about the various kinds of orientations. They would identify themselves as one of them. When a person would, like, if we just see about how things go, we just know that there's like a boy and a girl and they come together. That used to be the scene a few years back. Now at least we know a little about the LGBT community. But still there are like a huge chunk, I would rather say the massive chunk of the Indian community do not know anything about the community. Right? They do not know how many kinds of orientations are there. And that might be bringing in a lot of confusion for every person who probably is not identifying themselves as only a woman or a man. So when those kind of awareness comes in, people would learn a lot of things about themselves. They would probably be able to relate to another kind of orientation, which would help them explore themselves well, be more vocal about what they really want, have healthy conversations with their partner, right? And with awareness, when they are trying to explore themselves, they might just be very mindful about the fact that they would want to explore what their partner really wants. What kind of activities and acts that the person, like their partner, wants to engage in. What are their needs? And I think with all of this will come like a lot of communication, a lot of conversation, which would not really help them to have a healthier relationship emotionally, but also a very healthier relationship sexually. They would really know how to go about it. What are the things that are needed? Like understanding the real depth of it, right? So yeah, I think a lot of awareness might help quite a bit.
I mean, like you said, right? If you do have an awareness of your needs and the needs of your partner, not only does it increase, say, the intimacy, it also does help with how your sex life is. And it does improve it significantly.
Definitely.
As well. So all of those things are also very, very important. If any of you do have questions, though, y'all can always reach out to us through our IG page or on our website. And if anyone does want to book for sessions for counseling, Aanchal is available on, I mean, you can register for sessions with her on our website. Her profile is available there. So, yeah, I think that's about it for today. Thank you for doing the live with us.
Thank you so much. It was really great talking to you, Akshita.
It's really nice talking to you too. So, yes. Hopefully, we'll see you again for another.
Yes, definitely. I would want to do one again.
Yes. Okay, cool then.
Okay.
I shall.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.